magic number.
What does it all mean?
Hello and welcome to Flintoff, Savage and the Ping Pong Guy. That's me, Matthew Syed. This week we've got something a bit different. We're going to answer some of your meaty topics. Producer's gone through social media, picked out some of the questions that caught his eye. So let's see how many we can get through in this podcast. Remember, you can use the hashtag FredSavSide to suggest future topics you'd like to hear us talk about. And we're going to kick off, guys, with a question. What are you laughing
You'd
at?
struggle on auto cue, wouldn't you?
So this one,
Make it
the first
meaty.
one,
If it's meaty.
this is meaty.
Meaty.
There is some meat on the bone here. Rich Lloyd Ablett.
Oh, see, these are actual our
Rob.
followers.
These are people.
These are people.
Our Twitter
Actual
followers.
people called
Yeah,
Rich
human
Lloyd
beings.
Abbott.
So we're now in. It's brilliant. I think it's brilliant. I think
And
that's
you
brilliant.
guys-
the listeners, brilliant. I think it's great.
I've had them cut out, put on bits of paper. None of us have been briefed about
No.
what they're going to be, so this is entirely spontaneous. But Rich
So
Lloyd
is this
Ablett-
innovative?
This is innovative.
Is that
yeah.
innovative?
There we go.
I've heard of footballers having no interest in the game. Instead, they treat it as a job. To be successful as a sports person, do you need to be passionate for your sport, or can it just be like any other job for the money?
That's a good question.
Robbie.
I've played with some footballers who hate football. Yeah.
Name them, who?
I can't name
Oh,
them.
come on.
I can't
Stop
name them.
speaking
No, I
in
can't.
riddles.
No,
Who are they?
I can't name them.
Did you play with Chris Sutton? He just looks like he hates life. Chris Sutton.
Great lad.
He's like the Bob Willis. He's like the Bob Willis of football, isn't it?
Great lad. Chris, dry, funny.
He's dry, blooming egg.
Funny, good guy.
Turkey's more moist.
So, on the last podcast, you likened the Arsenal team to a 4-Mondale. Now you've likened Chris Sutton to a turkey. So, I've played with some people who didn't like football. Yeah, who didn't like football, and I can't get my head around that. I cannot understand it. Surely you go into something that you have a passion about, you love.
Do you though? Do you? Like,
Yes,
no, but
I love football.
for me, cricket, I put it down. I have a laugh about it. I have a joke about it, but I love it. There's no two ways about it.
Yeah.
But then you think of it, that people go and have jobs they're good at, they might not necessarily like. Like, I can't imagine Matthew was passionate about table tennis.
What?
It's rubbish.
I loved it. What do you-
How can you be passionate
I
about
loved
ping pong?
I loved it. You know, when I was in primary school, I was pretty good at captain of the school football team, school cricket team. And I was quite good at football and cricket.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, but I enjoyed table tennis more. And I think that this is why I'm interested in what you're saying, Rob, that in order to clock up the hours, because you don't know you're going to make it when you're 10, 11, 12, 13, in order to put all that time and commitment in, I think you have to have some real internal desire for the game. You have to love what you're doing.
But then also some people, I was joking about table tennis, but some people end up in a job. Mm-hmm. And there'll be sportsmen who just end up in sport as a job.
You think they'd go through the
Surely
amount of
not.
hours?
Well,
you have to
what's the options? Like for me, right? I worked. I loved it, but let's say I didn't love it. Mm-hmm. Let's say, for instance, all of a sudden you turn up one day, you're not bad at cricket. I weigh up my other options and think, well, it's either that or I'm going to work behind record counter at Woolworths, which I did.
Yeah.
Well, then you'd play cricket.
Yeah, but you loved cricket.
Yeah, I love working behind at Woolworths as well, to be honest.
It was the best.
But-
Did you ever nick
probably
a penny
wouldn't have the
sweet?
cars.
Did you ever nick a penny sweet?
I used to nick the PlayStations. That's why I got sacked. Anyway, but there will be. I played with people at Lancs who they liked it. Yeah. Like Bumble's lad, Graham Lloyd. I'm not sure he loved it.
Really?
Yeah, we'd all sit there and have a whinge, but I suppose deep down he did. But
I think in table tennis, the guys, so I'll say them. I'm prepared to say Gareth Herbert and Terry Young.
oh, Herbert, bumming heck, he hated it.
They were
Terry Young, don't get me started on Terry.
Youngie.
Oh,
massive ability. They had huge potential, but in the training hall, they went through the motions. You know, at 9:30 a.m. on a Monday morning, you had to put your heart and soul into the training session. They didn't love table, and that's why they got into the top 250 of the world, but they didn't break the top 50. They didn't have that passion. I'm amazed, Robbie. You're talking about Premier League
Andre
footballers.
Agassi.
Yeah, but he loved. I don't believe what he said in the.
These are his words, not mine.
I know, Fred.
What did he say?
Well,
He hated it.
He
He
said he hated tennis. In his autobiography, he said, "I hate tennis."
No.
He said when the
I don't believe
ponytail
it.
went, his love of tennis did too. He didn't, Rob.
But this is a weird thing. He said that he was forced to do it by quite a domineering father who created this machine in his back garden in Vegas that would spit tennis balls at him, and he had to hit them all day long. But the weird thing is, once he left the control of his father, he continued to play tennis and he continued to train and he was passionate about it. I don't think that rings true for me.
I often hear ex-sportsmen, ex-cricketers.
Burping.
Burping.
Right.
I just got some
Yeah,
wind.
you're
then.
right there.
Do you know
You're
why?
right.
Because I've just finished off your cheese and ham toasting.
And it was cold as well.
Yeah, it was nice though. But what gets me is about cricketers when they finish.
Yeah.
And then I've met a few of them. Oh, I can't watch it. I can't watch it. I don't like it. I hate it.
Yeah.
This is just lies. It's just lies. It's like a self-defense mechanism.
Yes.
Because they want to be there and they can't. And
Exactly.
it's,
That's so
it's
true.
nonsense.
Can I say one thing about...
Let me just
Yeah,
go
go
on.
on.
So one thing I can understand if you fall out of love with football and hate it, if you've constantly getting injured.
Yeah.
I fell out of love with cricket
understand-
for a bit.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Yep.
I can't understand anybody who does what millions of people would love to do, go into it and hate it. I can't get.
I'm going to go against that a little bit. I can't imagine rowers like rowing.
But they must do.
We said it before. They start off with
They
proper
don't get
sports,
well paid for it.
proper sports, and then when they realise they can't do it, football, cricket, rugby, it's a sliding scale. They end up rowing. And
But for
it's-
the amount of pain they go through, they must love it.
can't do what else. It's like your last chance saloon at sport.
Rowing.
Rowing.
But Fred, like cricket, football, I think table tennis are interesting sports to play. Rowing, you get down onto the water, every training session you've got to put yourself through hell.
So they must love it then.
Swimming.
They must love it then.
Swimming.
I talked to Rebecca
They must love
Adlington.
swimming.
Like table tennis, you're playing different shots, different spins, you're playing against different opponents. Rebecca Adlington, she said that her companion every day from 6 a.m. was the black line at the bottom of the pool. That was the only interaction she had.
But mustn't
up and
they
down,
love-
up and
Okay,
she
let's-
said the way she described it, Fred, was unbelievable. It was sheer, unrelenting monotony.
Okay.
I think that is tough.
Okay. Is there a suggestion to say then rowing, swimming, table tennis, sports which will not be as paid as much as golf, cricket, football? They must love it more to put their bodies through that for less rewards.
Yeah.
Is that
Possibly.
is that a fair?
I think that may well be
Is that
partly
it?
true, but I don't think it's just to do with the financial reward.
No, no,
It's
I know-
also
I know
to
it's
do
not,
with
I'm just
the-
saying.
It's to do with the activity
So
itself.
they must love it though, to put their bodies through that.
What gets me is in sport, right? Is because I was just watching some running on telly and the thing there, right? Imagine how can you love this when you're in a race knowing you can't win?
Yeah.
That must be. How can you love it then? How
Because
can
you-
you turn up?
Yeah.
See, right,
How can you turn up? I was fortunate. Every game I went into, every situation, give or take one or two, I thought I can do well, I can win. But people who turn up and they know they can't.
Win? Do you mean win an isolated event? Or
Well, imagine being 15th best
Yeah.
sprinter in
Yeah.
the world. What is the point?
but don't you
it
think
must
they've
like
got
being
their
the
own
15th best Premier League side.
What's the point?
But what about your own personal targets? You're trying to beat your own personal best rather than just beating the other people on the track. There's something meaningful in that, isn't there?
No. No.
I know. First,
No.
I'll go home. Can I say one thing about passion and loving that? Look, I want to ask you. You've got to name these players.
I
At least
can't.
okay,
No, I'm
explain
not.
this to
It's
me,
not fair.
Robbie. Premier League footballers. What is it about the game that they don't love? What were they saying that had turned them off this sport?
Well, I didn't go into great detail, but it's a phrase I've heard of players that, I hate football. And I can't get my head around that. I cannot get it. But what I will say is now, what gets on my nerves, I love what I do now. I love it. I love going to games. I love punditry. I love everything about my job. I think there's some players now who go into the punditry, they don't love it because they're bored, they've got nothing else to do.
Yeah, it's interesting. Can I just say one final thing about passion for the sport? At Wimbledon, they have these practice courts near Centre Court, Orangi Park. And I went down there, and I do every time I go and cover Wimbledon, and you watch Federer, Nadal, Djokovic, Murray on the practice courts, the passion they've got for the game is unbelievable. Federer, he plays his little drop shots and he's laughing and he's enjoying trying new things. And I think that passion is a part of what makes the greatest players great.
Do you actually go to cover the events? Because some people question you don't go to these events, don't they?
I do. Wimbledon I cover.
But I've heard that about you.
Just at nice ones.
I've heard that about
Wimbledon,
you.
Ascot.
I've heard that about you. I think there's a bit of jealousy there, saying Matthew Syed writes about these topics.
Who's having a go at him?
I've heard it in these press lounges. Let's put it out there.
Yeah.
I've heard people, and I think it's jealousy, saying that Matthew Syed doesn't go to these events, and he writes about them from the comfort of his living room. Put that myth to bed.
It's absolute rubbish.
Rubbish. You go to these events.
I go to the event, so I cover.
Would you do it in the study, not the living room? Or do you get someone to do it for you?
Put it to bed, because I'm sticking up for you, dear.
Yeah, it's rubbish.
Do you love what you do now? Do you love going to Wimbledon?
You don't have to. Sky put in the West Wing.
You were going to say you don't.
I love what I do. In fact, the weird thing is, I wake up all of the different things. I enjoy doing the podcast, and I think passion is a part of what makes people good at what they do. That's why I'm so surprised.
Writing, speaking, or this podcast. Which one do you love more?
Oh.
Next topic. Come on, Matthew.
Okay. Winter Olympics.
Pointless.
This is Matthew Strong.
People messing about in the snow. Get a grip.
Which Winter Olympic sport would you like to try?
The luge.
You wouldn't get nervous?
Well, I might just do the jump on Channel 4. I've been offered that a few times.
Not high profile enough.
What? The jump.
Yeah.
So the luge when you nose first.
That's a skeleton.
What?
The skeleton.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I've done that.
The skeleton. That's
You've
what I
not
like to do.
done the skeleton.
I've done the skeleton in Whistler.
You got on one of those. Look at this.
Yeah.
Look at the side.
I had a black suit and like a seal. Will you stop kicking me, Corey? My son's in kicking me. So I was doing it. I did it for cash. I was doing a TV show, and it was one of the last things we did. I went down the course at Whistler, and it only I was the first person on since the Winter Olympics the following summer.
Wow,
the following season, and it's brilliant. It's brilliant. You lie down. And then the fellow was telling us how you do it. He was giving you coaching points, and you got to move your head and this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
So the first time I went down, I tried to steer, and I nearly came off because it's the same course that someone died on that one in the Winter Olympics in Whistler.
And you weren't nervous to do it?
Nah. And then went down, and I thought, you know what? I'm just going to lie there and just go for the ride. It was amazing.
Amazing.
Honestly, it's
got
amazing.
some speed, eh?
How fast did you get up to? Because they go up to sort of 50, 60.
More than that, doesn't it?
The heavier they are, the better.
Better, yeah. The heavier you are, the faster you go. I was 2 stone heavier than what I am
you
now. I
broke
was
the world record.
flying
down.
And then you just got your chin just off the ice. And then you're just watching going forward, and it's brilliant. You feel the speed. Honestly, it's amazing.
And I didn't know that, so I would like to do the skeleton. Tell you what I would not do. Mm-hmm. The ski jump.
Oh, that's what
you just talked yourself out of it. You were going on jump a minute ago.
No, I mean,
you're going on jump now.
I went on pre-season tour.
Just trying to put your price up. Exactly. Trying to put your price
up. If it got better viewing figures, it'd have been on the first series.
Yeah.
I went to Austria on a pre-season tour. And
apparently, for the next series, it's a toss-up between Robbie Savage and Jan Molby.
Might be nasty fun. So he's a great lad. Him, Jan, by the way, great lad.
He won't get off the ground.
Him and all the press rooms. So. I walked to the top of the ski jump. So there's the shorter one and the big one, and I'm not lying. When you stand at the top, you couldn't do it.
Sheer.
So when people say about Eddie the Eagle Edwards, what a brave man! Yeah. What a brave man!
Did you watch the film?
I watched it. That's why I'd love to do it. I was blown away.
He just decided he's going to go from the 90 metre.
Yeah.
He'd never landed it. He'd never been down. And you talk about brave sports people and people who are courageous. Eddie the Eagle Edwards, he's got to be the daftest or bravest. It's a fine line between bravery and stupidity. Yeah. But imagine going down not even sure if you're going to land.
Yeah.
Incredible.
I reckon you'd be good at the ski jump.
Why?
I reckon you get distance.
Why?
Well, if you put your head down as you go down, and then when you take off, fling your head back, get some air in them nostrils, you'll keep going forever. You're like a reverse parachute.
So you'd like to do the ski jump, Matthew, I'll let her do the skeleton. What would you like? What would you
I'd like
want?
to do the skeleton again.
By the way,
Again.
Or, do you know what I'd
80
like?
miles an hour they get up to.
Or that one, I reckon what would be good was us three in the toboggan. And then get a proper one at the front driving.
Get Steve the driver.
Yeah, Steve the driver.
We get lost on there.
Is there sat nav? Okay, Steve Davis.
Really? Oh, it's the girl who peanuts are me. Him and them and me.
Where do the boys keep their ketchup? In the cupboard or in the fridge?
Fridge.
Yep.
Well, fridge is ours, but I'd soon have it in the cupboard.
Yeah. Tastes better, doesn't it? When
Yeah,
it comes
but
out
the
cupboard?
wife
Goes
puts
off.
it in the fridge.
Fridge. Yeah, fridge. Matthew?
Yeah, fridge. Do you have red and brown? I only have red.
Why?
But I have mayo as well. Mayo.
Yeah, but you're very continental, aren't you?
What do you mean?
With your mayo and your chips, I bet.
I do like mayo with chips.
Red or brown sauce on your bacon butty?
Red.
Red on bacon, brown on sausage.
I had an amazing sausage sandwich the other day.
Yeah.
How good are sausage sandwiches?
I tell you what, I like brown sauce with eggs. What you do is you get your egg, your fried egg, and you have a runny one, and then you put your brown sauce,
Yep.
and then you rub it in. Egg yolk and brown sauce. It's a match made in heaven.
Tell you what I had the other day. I don't know if you've done this ever. A sandwich with crisps and salad cream. Push it all down.
I love a crisp butty.
How good is that?
Crisp butties.
What's your snack later? If you've gone out and had a few drinks,
I don't really drink that often.
really?
Oh,
Thursday.
Rob, don't ruin it. What's your snack?
Thursday you had a few?
Yeah, Thursday and Friday. What do I what do I like? A snack, crisps, bag of crisps,
I've
balsamic.
never just been talking about crisp. Why
Yeah.
did you not pipe up?
Yeah, balsamic vinegar. Balsamic vinegar.
Balsamic.
I
Balsamic
can't.
vinegar.
I'm chocolate, me. I can't stop it. I really can't stop it. Chocolate.
What's the next one?
Adam Willis. Would you care if teammates were destructive personality in the dressing room if they won games or titles for the team?
No, not at all.
You don't worry
Wonder
about
why you're saying that.
I never won titles or trophies. I was destructive, though. Not at all. Not at all. I think you are allowed. I think in most dressing rooms, if you're successful, you can have people like that. No, I don't know. I've never been in a successful dressing room in terms of longevity, but I think you need. I wouldn't care if he was destructive. I wouldn't care
What if he turned up for the team bus late 15 minutes every time he went to the match?
and then scored the winning goal.
Yeah.
Wouldn't care.
Give him a bit more leeway.
I think the more talented match winners, I think you can give a bit more leeway in the side. And I think the management of that players becomes more important.
Interesting, Fred.
I played with people who are. It depends to what degree, doesn't it? Like we see what happened with Kevin Peterson. They probably, who knows, but they say he was a destructive influence and went too far and they got rid of him.
Yeah.
Talking about the team bus, if you're late for the bus with the cricket, it just
Goals,
went.
yeah.
It went. I once did that in South Africa. I missed the bus.
It went.
I was going to the airport. I woke up and I was like half an hour late.
Yeah.
But then I had a word with security. I got a police escort to the airport and driven onto the runway and met the lads at the top of the
you?
plane.
What?
Hi, lads! I was at the top of the steps as they were coming on. Right, lads, you all right?
How did they arrange that? A police escort?
Well, we used to have... we had security in South Africa and we used to have Nelson Mandela's bodyguards.
Wow.
One called Rory. So Rory sorted me out. I said, Rory, I need you. So we got a police escort, got rushed to the airport, driven onto the
Before
tarmac.
the bus.
I got there well before the bus. And I was stood at the top of the steps on the aeroplane as the lads were coming in.
No way.
Oh, Duncan Fletcher was seething.
What did he say?
Didn't say, I had to sit next to him for the next 2 hours on a flight.
What do you think?
I think it's a really difficult one. I talked to some of the people in the England setup during the Kevin Peterson.
There's a line. There's a line.
They were saying this guy is a fantastic player. We would love to have him in the squad because he contributes so much with the bat. But he keeps doing things that are completely unacceptable. And at some point in time, it can corrode the culture of the team.
So Christoph Dugarry at Birmingham won the World Cup. I think he won the World Cup. He come to Birmingham. So he wasn't destructive, but he was allowed to get away with a bit more. So in pre-season, you do a 3,000-metre run.
Yep.
Yeah. And then Christoph would be about 4 or 5 minutes behind everybody else, strolling round. Yeah. And then afterwards, Brucey said to him, Christoph, try to get the best time. He went, give me the ball.
Yeah.
Give me the ball. He'd sit in the physio room. He'd sit on the cupboards. They'd say, get down. He'd sit there. Yeah. So stuff like that, little things, you can get away
I used
with.
to do that in fitness things.
I mean,
Used to do the bleep test.
Used to just.
And they say, how many are you going to get? I said, well, what do I need to get to pass?
And
They say 12. I said, I'll get 12 then.
That's what you would do.
And I'd stop.
That surprised me with you, that.
Why?
Because I thought you would want to be the best.
The competitive.
Competitive.
Because you are competitive.
Would you do that now?
What, the bleep?
If us three, if me, you...
Against
and
you,
Sam-
I'd try and beat you like you'd never see. I'd kill myself.
We've seen you in the gym.
Yeah.
You cannot... You would not
But
be that now.
I'm into it. And I would train, I'd be fit. But I didn't need to prove to them that I'd been training.
So, but would you change now?
I don't know.
In the gym now, we do a bleep test, all of us. What would you do?
12.
You wouldn't. You wouldn't.
No, that's what I used to do, 12. And then if I'm into something, I'll commit to it fully that I feel I need to do. But like the bleep test, nah. Give me a bat and ball.
Talked about very good players who might be a disruptive influence. Have you heard of something called the curler effect? This is what
I've done a few.
This is Wolfgang Curler. He was a psychologist with the Berlin rowing team.
Oh,
in the
stop telling me
1920s.
things we know, Matthew.
You know it. Well, I don't.
What, the Berlin rowing team?
Yeah,
Wolfgang Curler?
Yeah.
He found that when you paired rowers, one who was particularly good with one who was less good, if there was a big gap, the less good one would improve quicker because of two things. One, social comparison. If you've got someone who's absolutely fantastic, you try harder to keep up. But also you start to learn and adopt good habits because often the best person in the team has the best habits. And so you see this effect in football clubs like Cantona at United. Unbelievable work ethic. It rubbed off on the other players and it strengthened the culture. And I think that if you have a destructive person in the team setting an example that leads people to think, I don't need to train hard, I'm going to turn up for the bus late, that can be quite negative. You get in a negative spiral. If you have somebody who's an incredibly good role model, who's also the best in the team, it can create an incredibly powerful culture. The curler effect. Okay, Rogie B. Who is the best sportsman out of Fred, Sav and Syed? I reckon that if we were to do a composite thing, if we do tennis, squash, table tennis, cricket, football...
That's not the same sport. Table tennis, squash.
Badminton...
Oh, my word.
I reckon I'd take you both out.
You'd beat me at table tennis. You have done.
Tennis.
You beat me at tennis.
Badminton.
You'd beat me.
Squash.
You beat me.
Cricket, you would win.
I'd be all right. Darts, I'd hammer you.
Are you good at darts?
Yeah, I'd beat you at pool.
No, okay, snooker, I think I'll beat you.
No, you wouldn't.
Or pool.
No, you wouldn't.
Well, I've beaten Freddie at table tennis. I've beaten Freddie at pool.
Oh,
Yeah, I have.
you haven't.
Beat you the other day. In that tournament,
Where
I
at?
beat you. Here. I beat you. I played
I
him in
beat
the
you
final.
game after.
Yeah, but it didn't count.
And
Didn't count. I think Freddie would be because
No.
of his physical attributes.
But which sports are you included in this? Darts, snooker, pool, all the racket sports, cricket and
you
football.
beat you
You just
me at all
beat
the
him
racket sports.
racket sports, but you wouldn't. You'd only beat me at table tennis. You would.
You think you're going to do me at tennis?
Yeah.
Have you done any practice?
No.
No,
I don't need it.
Don't need to.
Who do you think I'll win?
No,
You think Roberto will beat me at tennis?
you've not a chance.
Fred.
You've not a chance.
Really?
If he hits it straight to you, it'd be all right.
Listen,
I don't think I'll have the fitness.
can I just tell you what?
Can you run?
What?
Yeah.
Okay,
you?
you can run. What floor are we on here?
Huh?
What floor are we on at the BBC?
First.
Floor. He gets the lift.
Yeah.
That is true.
That is a sign.
I do get the lift.
Why?
I'm not fit, but
Yeah, I know.
fine.
You just said you're fit. I'd bat
No,
it.
but well, you don't need. No,
I
don't
think
think I'll tell you this though: if you were to say who was the greatest sportsman in terms of what they achieved, I'd go Fred.
100%.
One of the greatest cricketers
100%.
I think this
That's a
country's ever
myth. It's
produced.
genuinely a myth, but
yeah,
No,
100%.
but I think that you, of the three of us, probably and I admire this massively.
Yeah.
You maximise your potential probably more than either me or Fred.
I think in terms of general sport, physically Freddie would win, but in terms of eye for ball, I think I'm better.
I used to play cricket, Rob.
I think.
What
I
do
think.
you mean eye for a ball?
Tennis, I'd beat you. Tennis, I'd beat you. Snooker and pool, I'd beat you, and will still beat you. Table tennis, I'd beat you. Tennis, I'd beat you. The physical stuff, because you're physically bigger, you'd beat me. Rowing, swimming,
Boxing.
boxing.
I don't
So
know
the
how you
physically stuff where you don't need no brains, you'd have half a chance.
I get what?
He's confident there.
You'd have half a chance.
Chess, a game of
But-
chess. Let's get the
Yeah,
board out.
I'd
now.
beat you
Get the board out.
I'd beat you at chess. I
You'd
played.
beat me at
I was
chess?
number 2 in Bridallen School.
What? You're number 3 in tennis.
I'd beat you drafts.
There was 3 people in your school in that village.
So there's the challenges. I've got you against tennis, and I play you against chess.
I mean,
Yeah. So
Michael, Anthony.
you'd be bottom. of that?
I know I'd be. Well, let's see what happens in tennis.
That's sprinting.
You?
Yeah, you
Physically
you'd win.
bigger. Your strides are like one stride, like 8 meters.
Your game was based around running.
Like the honey monster running down the track at Total Fitness.
Michael Anthony Mills, Pancake Day, Tuesday. How do you have yours?
In a pan.
No, but would you have it with?
How do you have them?
I have mine with sugar and a bit of lemon.
That's what I do. Yeah, sugar and
Better, isn't it, than chocolate and
yeah,
and all that?
yeah.
I don't like them.
Don't like pancakes.
No, do you know why? I had an experience as a kid. I was at Greenlands Primary School, Mrs. G's class when I was 6. Pancake day. They made pancakes and they're dishing them out. And then everyone was trying them.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, I'll have a bit of that. Put one in my mouth, threw up on Joanne next to me.
Did
Just
you?
instantly threw up on Joanne Ma.
To put you off.
Yeah, I remember.
Never.
Never had another one. Never had another one.
Really?
I had to stand on my chair with my hands on my head. It's not my fault.
You got punished for
I had to stand on my chair with my hand on my head. I felt right daft.
Really?
I was embarrassed enough. I'd thrown up on a girl. I don't need to stand in a corner on my chair with my hands on my head because I threw up.
I think that is such a horrible thing for the teacher to do, as if you
It's the
deliberately...
80s, isn't it? It's the 80s.
I am. That's a story. It's a good topic actually. A question.
What about...
So I had a pint of beer when I was 19. Had a pint of beer when I was 19. Had a pint. Never had a pint in my life. Had a pint. Was so ill afterwards. So ill. Never touched a beer ever again. Was so ill. One pint. Ill.
I was in Cape Town on a pre-season tour. I had 1 pint of Kilkenny in this pub. I walked out, threw up in a shop doorway. I can't drink Kilkenny ever again. Who'd have thought?
Yeah. So I
I can't
don't
drink
drink
it
beer.
again now for other reasons. but for a while, I could never touch it.
Amazing. I remember my wife.
I was ill.
One of my favourite restaurants near where I live. She ate a meal there.
Where is it? Court?
No, there is a coat near where I am, but she got food poisoning and threw up. We've never been back. Every time we walk past, she gets a little shudder.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't
Carry the memories a long
I did it
time.
with mustard once. Mustard. I went on a school trip to Preston Town Hall, and they give some butties out. So I thought, well, that's an ham butty. I'm having you.
Mustard on it.
Yeah, I ate it. I had to go to the toilet and threw up. I thought it was paint, and then I tried another one, thinking there's some paint on a butty.
Yeah.
I said, there's paint on these sandwiches. They're not right. So I had another one. I went and threw up again in bog.
You don't eat mustard?
Can't eat mustard. Or horseradish. Or wasabi. Who'd have thought?
Really?
Yeah.
I love wasabi. Okay, Carl. Thank you, Carl. Best player you've seen who never made it to the top for whatever reason.
There was a guy, Wales under 15 against England under 15s at Filbert Street, Leicester. They won 3-2, England. And there was a guy called Ian Thompson. What a player.
Some more. Yeah.
What a player. Centre forward. Brilliant player.
Yeah.
I thought, wow, if anybody's going to make it, it would be him.
Yeah.
Never seen or heard of him ever again. Ian Thompson. I just remember his name.
What about that brilliant player, Ben Thornley? Didn't he get a terrible injury in the class of 92?
Great player. I think Ben's doing a book, actually. I think I've got to, actually reminds me, I've got to ring him. I've got to do a bit for his book. Randomly. Ben Thornley would have been, who knows. But there was another guy, and there's a book about it. Adrian Doherty.
Yeah.
Manchester
Yeah,
United.
yeah. Written by Oliver Kay, my
That's
colleague
right.
at the Times.
I've got to say, Ryan Giggs, Adrian Doherty at the time, it was a toss of a coin who was better. He had everything. He was from Ireland, lightning quick, great lad. I shared digs with him. And then tragically, he was found, wasn't he? He was found, I think, in Amsterdam, in a canal. Obviously dead. Tragic story. And obviously, when I heard about it, it was a few years ago. I was devastated because I grew up with him. Lovely lad. He could have been one of the best players I think the Premier League ever seen.
It's interesting, isn't it? Sometimes you don't make it because of personal tragedy, sometimes because of injury. Are there any in cricket who didn't make it because they just didn't have the desire and drive, but who had the potential to be fantastic?
I don't think, not really. You play with a lot of kids who are brilliant as schoolboys, aren't they? And then never kick on.
That was Ian Thompson for England schoolboys.
Just don't kick on.
I don't know why, what reasons, but he might have fell out of love with football. Do you mean? I don't know. I don't know what the reasons were, but I remember his name, Ian Thompson and Adrian Doherty.
The only one for me who could have been a great, who never didn't carry on for obvious reasons, was Phil Neville.
Yeah.
Could have been amazing.
In cricket?
Yeah. About you?
Well, I mentioned them, didn't I? Terry Young, Gareth Earp.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely brilliant players. And it was so sad to see them not making that transition, because they could have been two of the best players in English table tennis history, which I know would make you raise your eyebrows, Fred. Grant Meadows, Eddie Hall, recently won.
World's strongest man.
World's strongest man. First Brit in 24 years. Almost no acknowledgement in the press. What sport or sports person deserves more mainstream attention? I know all of us massively admire Phil Taylor, but he's getting it now, isn't he? He's getting it. Well, I mean, he's got more now than he did 10 years ago.
Is he? He's probably Britain's most successful sportsman.
Yep.
Ever.
No, come on.
Well,
Come on.
Who is then?
Oh,
Who is
come on.
then?
Come on.
Who's won more things than him?
Come on.
World titles. Come on, who?
So, listen, I'm a big fan of Phil Taylor.
Who?
Hang on.
Who?
You're saying, are you saying factually and statistically?
Well, it is, yeah.
But are you saying he's Britain's greatest sportsman?
Yeah.
Come on.
Who is
you
it?
don't believe in that.
Who is?
Britain's greatest sportsman. So,
You can keep repeating it, but who is?
I'm thinking. So,
he's playing for time.
and Andy Murray's better.
No, he's not.
Yeah, he is.
How many Grand Slams have he won?
So you're saying statistically, you're saying factually then. So factually, I hold my hands up. You're probably right. You're probably right. 17 or 18 world titles. So you're probably right, factually. But he's not Britain's greatest sportsman.
Because it's not a huge sport.
In an era of two Djokovic, Federer.
Not English.
Yeah, but
Not
I'm
British.
talking about Andy Murray. For Andy Murray to win Grand Slams with those players around him is an incredible. One Wimbledon
Michael Van Gerwen.
One Wimbledon title is more than 17 darts world championships.
Why?
Well, it is.
Why is it? It's not.
Matthew, what do you think?
I think that Taylor, in terms of dominance of a sport, is definitely the number one. But I think you've got to take into account how big is the sport. Tennis global. Darts is dominated by Holland and people from the United Kingdom, and therefore it isn't quite as difficult to get to the top in that as it would be in tennis or football. I mean, for me, if I had to pick out the greatest British sportsman of all time, I'd go Bobby Charlton, because he was a dominant force in the most globally competitive sport. But when it comes to people who have been overlooked, I think Phil Taylor deserves more recognition, for sure.
100%.
Who would you pick out as somebody you think just doesn't
Ronnie
get the
O'Sullivan?
Yeah,
brilliant.
Fantastic.
For him to play with left-handed, most talented I've ever seen, got to be Ronnie O'Sullivan.
Yeah,
To make 147 with both arms.
Yeah, has he done
You've got to use both arms.
Yeah, but I mean, left arm. You know what I mean? Both. For him to, he's as comfortable. Is that called
both arms?
ambidextrous?
What?
Ambidextrous.
Ambidextrous. Is the talent that man's got. He is the most talented I've seen. But would you agree, Matthew? One Wimbledon Grand Slam, a Wimbledon Grand Slam is more of achieving 17 world titles.
I'd say a Grand Slam in tennis is probably the equivalent for me. It's subjective. I'd say probably 8 world darts champions.
Shut up, Syed.
It is.
Zach.
What?
We haven't had a single winner of a Grand Slam in the male side of the game since Fred Perry in the 1930s.
It's not Phil Taylor's fault we've not been good enough.
We've had Eric Bristow. We've had British darts world champion. We've had Eric Bristow, Jockey Wilson, Phil Taylor.
So?
Dennis Priestley.
Gary Anderson.
Gary Anderson. We've had
Rob
almost
Cross,
everybody's a winner.
Crossy only went professional a year ago. He won the world championship.
The UK is a hotbed for
Let me ask you
successful
this,
darts players.
Let me ask you this
No,
question.
hang on.
No.
So, why'd you... F1 then? What about F1?
What?
Well, we've had a lot of British winners in that. Does that make it easier?
You haven't really. Damon Hill.
Lewis Hamilton.
2.
How many times have you won it? That other lad.
Nigel Mansell.
Jensen
Nigel
Button.
Mansell, 3.
Nigel Mansell.
4.
Oh, is that all? 4?
4.
Yeah, but every winner of the darts is British.
Name me another sport. Name me another sport. That.
This is the problem with you. Like,
No.
when we're good at a sport, you can see the journalistic stuff coming out and you just want to dig away. It's easy.
Name me another
easy.
sport. Okay,
No,
then
not
I'm with you. I'm with you. Name me another sport where you can turn professional a year before you win the world championship.
Any.
Well, name me one.
Any
Name
sport.
me.
Yeah,
Name me one.
That's not even a question.
Well, of course it is.
You can
Rob
turn
Cross.
professional and win it a year later. Of course
But
you
who
can.
has
But
then?
what's the
Who has
question?
then? Who has then?
I don't know. I'm
Rob
not into
Cross
sport.
darts. So for me, dedication, yes. Listen, I'm not taking anything away against dart players. They're dedicated, they're professional, they train hard, they work hard.
What about golf?
Well, name me some
Golf.
Well, name me somebody who won a major who's professional the year before.
Well, not a year before, but
There you go.
from obscurity.
Danny Willett.
Yeah.
But he was professional for many years.
But he was no good and he just pops up and won one.
Yeah, but he didn't turn
But
professional
anyone
a
can
year
pop up
before.
and win it. But anyone can pop up and win it.
Yeah, but he turned professional.
Phil Taylor dominated
Yeah.
for years and years and years. Don't tell me his career has spanned decades. The hunger, the desire, the fitness, the ability to keep going for all them years.
I'm with you, Phil Taylor. I'm a big fan of Phil
Stop
Taylor.
putting him down.
I'm not putting him down. I'm
Putting
just
Phil
saying.
Taylor down because
just
he's won a lot of
saying,
things.
For me, it's harder to win a Grand Slam in an era where Murray had Djokovic, Federer, Nadal, all these greats.
So what you're saying is then, what you're saying is then, right?
Yeah.
So you're saying it's harder for Murray because he's not as good as Djokovic and Federer. Well, he's not.
Yeah.
So if you was sat now,
I know you've got an argument against this. That's what I'm thinking.
If you was sat in Holland now, right, and you was talking about the best sportsman in Holland, and you say, well, Raymond van Barneveld, because he won the World Championship, and darts has got Phil the Power Taylor.
No, I'd say Michael van Gerwen.
No, but that's what I'm saying is, because they're not as good as the other people in the world, that makes them better. So Andy Murray's a better sportsman because he's not as good as the people he plays against. But if you dominate, you're not as good. Because if you're dominating, you're streets ahead of everyone else. What you're saying is because the competition is not up to your level, you're not as good a sportsman.
No, I'm not saying that.
Well, you are.
I think,
Am I?
Well, I think
You are, because you're saying, well, Andy Murray's won.
No, I think
in
it's
an era
the
where there's these great players. What I'm saying is Phil the Power is the Federer, is the Djokovic.
Yes,
Andy
but
Murray
yes.
isn't.
But you admire. Look, what he's
I
saying
admire
is
Phil Taylor.
what Murray's trying to do is he's trying to beat the whole world. You've got a Serb who's at the top, a Swiss. You've got a Spaniard. You've got Americans. You've got people from South America. You've got people from Asia. It's millions of people trying to excel in tennis all around the world. Parents who are pushing their kids into these clubs in all parts of the planet. Whereas in darts, it's a game which is played by a tiny group of people in basically 2 countries. So it's Phil Taylor.
Tiny. He's not tiny. Walk into any pub, there's a dartboard.
Well, it's,
How many people
How
on
many
it?
tennis courts are on?
How many people on it? You can always get a game of darts in a pub. You can always
You can always get on the tennis courts. It's a rack and ruin. Rack and ruin tennis courts where I live. You walk and there's dog muck on them, there's broken glass.
But the pool table's got about 15, 20 P's lined up with people waiting to play. You can get on the dartboard. You can't get on the pool table.
Why Steve Davis?
You have to put your 20p down.
Okay, listen, I'm going to go for my nominee for most overlooked is somebody called Nick Matthew. One of the best squash players in the world. Unbelievable dedication. No one's heard of him.
Whoa, hang on a minute. You've gone.
You just said
I'm
Phil the
surrounded by
Power.
Muppets here. I'm not even looking at you, Rob. You, Matthew Syed, you've just gone from an argument about Phil the Power Taylor in a minority sport. He's not as good. And then you picked a squash player.
Yes,
No, but
This doesn't beg a belief.
No,
Move on, Matthew.
good
Move
point,
on.
good
You've
point.
gone
Hey,
down
stick
in
up
my
for
book
yourself.
here.
no, what I mean
Oh,
by
rubbish,
that
Matthew.
is,
Not interested.
if you look at the commitment of this guy, I know him a little. And
that's why
the
he
co-
knows him. He knows him. He's a
Fergie.
Yeah, but the coverage for squash, everyone knows Phil Taylor.
You just,
And he
you're
deserves
just
it.
flying in the face of the last argument you just put forward.
Okay.
You're a contradiction.
No, stick up for yourself.
He's
What do you
contradicting
mean?
himself.
Stick up for yourself. Why have you said Nick Matthew?
The reason I'm
his
saying
mate
Nick
and he plays
Matthew
squash.
is because
What's
I
a racket
think
sport.
What's the game of
No,
squash?
it's not because of that. Because squash is a sport. I agree, it's a minority sport. I'm not he's not as great a sportsman for me as Phil Taylor. In the same way, I agree with Robbie. Phil Taylor's not as great as Andy Murray. But I do think
Rubbish.
that
They
this
play in
is
a glass
somebody.
box and they got it's a ball above a red line. Oh, man, heck.
Or under it.
He's got it. By even mentioning him, he's had too much
By the way,
recognition.
who are you going for?
The what?
The person who has insufficient recognition.
I'm going to go for...
Tyson Fury.
Oh, I like that.
I'm going to... Tyson Fury, yeah. Tyson.
Oh, well, don't just say Tyson
yeah.
Fury. Don't just repeat things.
I'm
Who are
going
you going for?
to say, globally, Ronnie O'Sullivan. Because to play with both arms is an incredible achievement.
Both arms?
You know what I mean?
Do you know another one?
Left
One of-
and right-handed.
Yeah, one of your countrymen, who I don't think gets enough recognition.
Gareth Bale.
No. Joe Calzaghe.
Yes.
46-0. Joe
Yeah, why is it-
Calzaghe.
why- I mean,
Brilliant.
unbeaten.
Joe Calzaghe.
I mean,
Beat the
that
best.
bout against Kessler.
Yeah.
The guy. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay, next one.
Hello, Steve Bunce here. We'll have you back to Mr. Flintoff, Savage and the Pong guy very shortly. But we just want to take a minute to tell you about the Costello and Bunce podcast for BBC 5 Live. It's a boxing podcast on the face of it, but we tend to get a bit, sidetracked. It sounds a bit like this.
If I did everything people said I did, I wouldn't have won 4 world titles in 2 different weights and beat who I beat. Times I did push me luck.
He was one of the funniest creatures I've ever met. He talked about when he fought a bear.
Never fight a bear twice, because the son of a you-know-what will remember you.
I have never seen a man so close to defeat and yet somehow come back and win.
There was a formal ending where we kind of sum up what we've just done. Do you want to have a pop first?
Should we try a formal beginning?
So that's the pod. It comes out every Monday around the same time as Fred, Sav and Syed. We talk boxing, have some fun and tell a few stories from our combined 80 years travelling the world covering this sport. 80 years. Anyway, this week we break down the George Groves win over Chris Eubank Jr. To find us, just search for Costello and Bunce. Remember, it's fun to try new things. Something Freddie might remember from his time in the boxing ring. Am I right, Big Fred?
This is 5 Live Sports.
Steve Nash, what is the most iconic venue you have ever competed in?
Iconic venue, Wembley. Wembley.
Old Wembley.
Old Wembley. Old Wembley, the Twin Towers, the drive up to the stadium, walking out behind the goal with a running track, and I was fortunate to walk out where the Leicester fans were. The noise when you come out that tunnel, you see all the old clips now where the fans are there. So for me, the Old Wembley. The Wankaday Stadium,
Yeah, I loved it in Mumbai. Oh,
Mumbai?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved it in Mumbai, the Wankaday. Great stadium. Loved it to play in India. I had fast hands there when I batted. It's got to be loads.
What made it so special?
It's like no other. It's steeped in tradition, even though I'm not a traditionalist. Every time you go into that long room, every time you go into the pavilion, as a player, as a spectator, it's special. I love it.
Matthew?
Food was better as well.
Oh, the
wasn't it,
food was
Lord?
amazing.
Matthew, you?
Me, so there was a table tennis venue in Copenhagen. It's a theatre called The Circus. And the rake was so steep. It was
The
like
what?
What? You played on stage?
So it was a stage, it was a theatre. And it was just big enough to accommodate a table tennis court.
I'll explain the rake to Robbie as a theatre man treading the boards. It's when it's not flat. What happens is the stage just slopes down towards the audience.
Really?
The rake.
Absolutely incredible.
Really?
And it felt so intimate.
So
To have
there was
so
a
many-
rake, so the table wasn't level.
Sorry, what I meant by the rake was that the trajectory of the seating was very steep.
Right.
So the stage was flat, but the seating was, like the Crucible, where you get a really steep.
All right.
And so it felt that they were really close to you. And the stage was almost exactly 14 metres by 7, just enough for a table tennis court. It was live on TV in Copenhagen. That was absolutely unbelievable. Patrick Viz.
Is it in a magazine?
Yeah, it's a question. How do I improve my Tinder game? See, this is a weird thing, right? Tinder
No idea.
didn't
Never been on it.
exist when I was single.
Mm.
So I wouldn't
Do you
even
think it'd have helped you?
My tennis coach, right,
Yeah.
started to get coached. I've only had 2 sessions, frankly. But he said that with Tinder, you basically get a load of photographs and you either swipe right or left, depending on whether you like this person, right? If you ever,
I know how
you
it
know how it
goes.
works?
I know how it goes. Yeah.
But it's all about looks.
Oh.
How good is the
Well,
photo?
you'd have had it.
Well, I mean, in my day, it was...
So how did you snare the lovely Kathy? How did that ever happen?
How do we get together?
Was she a massive table tennis fan?
We met through they went to university, my sister and Kathy.
Right.
So we were in a pub in Chelsea. Do you have any friends who you think you could set me up with? And I was definitely ready to settle down at that point. And she gave me Kathy's email, went on a blind date, met at South Kensington Tube Station. And that night,
No, don't
to the
tell us.
No, until
we don't want to know.
From that night, 2 months later, we'd bought a house together. Just knew straight away.
How did you propose?
Well, funnily enough, I had a commentary gig in.
Did you grind her
Qatar.
down? Did you grind her down? Is it either marriage or restraining order?
I had a commentary gig in Qatar. I'm on the tarmac. Kathy was joining me like 2 days later. And she had sort of intimated that she wanted to get married. And I said, do we need to do it? It's quite quick. We hadn't known each other that long. And I thought to myself, we're about to take off. If this plane crashed and it was my funeral and Kathy is at the funeral. This is my thinking.
This is how you think?
Yeah. No, well, it's not how I think.
This is how you think. You sat on a flight on a Qatar. I'm sure you wasn't sat at the back. They're coming round with champagne and nuts. And Kathy's talking about marriage. And the first thing that comes in your head is, well, if this plane crashes, I'm going to die alone.
No, I was thinking, if this plane goes down at the funeral, Kathy will be at the funeral as my girlfriend, not my wife, thinking, did he ever actually care enough to want to get married to me? Why didn't he pop the question? And I thought, that just felt really difficult. So when she came out to the hotel in Qatar, funnily enough, I just ordered room service, the chicken biryani. And I thought, I'm going to propose to her today. And in the hotel room, the biryani arrived. I put it on the desk and then went down on one knee and asked her to marry me.
Over the chicken biryani?
Chicken biryani.
In the hotel room?
Yeah. What about you, Fred?
I'm still getting my head around this. You're over a chicken
know,
biryani in your hotel room just so that at your funeral she'd know that you wanted to marry her.
Yeah, I wanted her to know, whatever happened from then on in, that I did have that level of commitment. So I thought, do it now rather than, why wait 5 years?
I don't know. You tell me.
How did you?
I was in St. Lucia playing in a double wicket tournament.
We've not heard this.
And I'd bought a ring.
Double wicket, Tom. What's that, mate?
It's like two of you play against two others with a few fielders.
Really?
Yeah, it's just a cash cow, to be honest. And I bought a diamond in South Africa, so I had it set into a ring.
Wow.
Anyway, it was quite quick afterwards. I don't think it was years, it was months.
What, after meeting her?
Yeah.
Wow.
So we went out for something to eat. And when we left the hotel, I said to him, look, this is what I'm thinking of doing. You've heard it?
No, we haven't heard it, no.
I said, can you dress... You haven't, you?
No, we haven't. 100%, no.
I definitely don't know.
I said, can you, dress the room up? Because this is what I'm doing, make it romantic, my room. He says, yeah, we can do that for you. Mm-hmm. So we went out for dinner, we came back, it was a birthday as well. And we opened the door, and on the floor, rose petals.
Wow.
On the floor, right, scattered. And then there's a table with a bottle on it, and some flowers, and some of them strawberries are dipped in chocolate. But the problem was, it sounds far much more romantic than it was. If I'm really being honest, it looked more like a wake. Yeah, I just needed a picture of the deceased on the thing. And then she went and I'd bought her a watch for her birthday.
Right.
So what I'd done is I'd put the ring in the watch box because she's going to put it back in the safe.
Yeah.
So I said, you're going to put your watch back in the safe. Wink, wink. So she goes and puts the watch back in the safe, and then she opens it, and then she takes the ring box out. Oh, what's this? Oh, I don't know. What's this? And then I was led up bed, she opened it, and I said, you'll get married then.
Wow. I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
But she didn't figure out that something was coming, given the rose petals, the chocolate.
Well, it's her birthday as well, wasn't it?
Of course. That's quite a romantic
Oh, yeah.
thing.
It was.
There's a lot of planning into. How did you knew that?
It wasn't an instant yes.
Wasn't it?
No, it wasn't. No, it was a slow burner, but we got there.
Did she say yes that night?
I don't think she did, no.
Oh.
It caught her out by surprise.
So what did she say?
But I don't know. It was like, oh, right.
She played for time.
She played for time.
How did you know 100% she was the right one so quickly?
I don't know. You just knew.
You do.
Gut feeling.
You know.
You just know, don't you?
Yeah,
It wasn't like I wasn't even looking for one. It just happened.
By the way, thanks for sending the wedding outfit on the WhatsApp, the white suit.
Oh.
That was quite something.
What was that about?
How did you propose?
So I went to the restaurant in Leicester called the Grey Lady.
You couldn't write it.
Why?
The Grey Lady.
Yeah, beautiful. One of the best in Leicester.
But you'd go to the Orange Man.
The Orange Tree. There's a book called The Orange Tree.
I've been.
Orange Tree. So the grey lady. So I arranged it the day before. I said to the owner or the person, I'm going to the person who run the place. I'm going to come tomorrow with my wife. Can we do something different? You know, I'll bring the ring. So I took the ring the day before.
You took it the day before. You trusted him with it.
Trusted him. Give him the ring. So I said, saxophonist.
Yeah, saxophonist.
I got one of those.
Was he doing a bit of Kenny G?
I can't remember what it was. So anyway, the rest nobody knew. Only us and the waiter. So I said, when the desserts come out, before the desserts come out, can all the lights go off?
Was it a full restaurant?
Full restaurant.
All the lights go.
You love it.
Full restaurant. It was only a small place. Full restaurant.
Why you put it lights off?
Because
Why you put it lights off?
didn't want her to be looking
nobody
at you.
Nobody knew. So
Everybody was running out.
We had a main course. And then obviously the dessert started before. What do you like for dessert? Well, we ordered whatever it was, and then wink at the guy. Anyway, this was the moment. Anyway, the lights went off. The light come on, the saxophonist, and then he started playing. And a waiter behind held the tray.
Yeah.
Come over to the table, light on the table.
This is good.
Yeah,
This is good.
yeah. And then obviously put the tray down, ring box on the table, and I said in front of the restaurant, "Will you marry me?"
Did you go down on one knee?
No, just across the table.
Uh-huh.
I said, "Will you marry me?" She said, "Yeah." So that was it. It was amazing.
Did she cry?
Yeah, God, cried. Yeah. So did I.
It was dark, wasn't it?
So did I. But on that,
Yeah.
one of my best pals was getting engaged, so we went on holiday together. And he said, "I'm going to get engaged." This is a great story. Marbella. So he said, "I'm going to buy the ring in the airport." So we go in through Manchester Airport, and he went into the shop and bought a ring from a jeweller's. So he got it in his hand luggage, and we went to Marbella, and he was going to propose to her the next night. So, Marbella, the front, where the big boats are. So you've got Sinatra's, and then next to Sinatra's, there's that one. There's one next to Sinatra's, quite a famous one. Anyway, so we're sitting there. So me and him went up to the person who was going to deliver the ring.
Yeah.
So he said,
He's copied you.
yeah, well, not copy me, but had a similar thing. So he said, "Can you put the ring on some ice?" So like a champagne bucket, so an ice bucket. Yeah. Put the ring on top. So it comes. listen, it comes out ice. The ring.
Yeah.
So it's like having some champagne.
Yeah.
So we'll have a main course, and then we'll order some champagne. And when the champagne comes out, there you go. And we'll be all happy. So we're sitting there. We have this. we have a main course. 4 of us. My wife, me, him, and his wife. All of a sudden, the desserts. So we're sitting there. 4 ice creams come out. 4 ice creams.
Yeah.
She starts eating the ice cream, and they'd put the ring in the ice cream. She nearly choked on it. Anyway, it was like
So she actually stuck it in her mouth.
and she had to get the ring. She went, anyway, the ring was in the ice cream. So she put the ring out the ice cream. Will you marry me?
Did she
Yes,
say
yes,
yes?
yeah.
Matthew Bailey, what is the worst excuse you've ever encountered for somebody missing a game or a training session? The worst excuse ever.
I got fined for turning up to a game late in Zimbabwe on an air tour. It was in the bar the night before. No, it's not as bad as you think. And we all sat round, me and Keezy, a couple of lads, and a lad called Mal Loy. He started telling ghost stories. He started telling these really scary stories. And I don't like the dark, so I didn't like it.
Yeah.
So I went back to my room. I had a single room, and I was in my room, and I was panicking. I didn't like it. I had a couple in my
How old were you?
21. Right, so
The God is laughing here.
So I didn't like it. So I was in my room, and I couldn't handle it anymore. So about 1:30, I went and knocked on Keezy's door. And Keezy was rooming with Vikram Solanki. Mm-hmm. I said, "Keezy, I'm going to have to stay in here tonight, mate. I can't stay on my own."
Oh.
So Keezy had a bed which was just a bit bigger than a single. So I got in with Keezy, right? so Keezy's not a small lad. So I went behind Keezy. I'm effectively spooning him, right? So I've got my arms around him. So I'm in bed and we're laughing. And I got to sleep about 5:30, 6 in the morning. Vikram Solanki, he's nips off. And we must have both fallen asleep in bed, me and Bob. So it's like 11:15. The game starts at 11.
No.
The game starts at 11. So we get in a cab, we go to the ground, and as we're driving in, they're all going out to field. So we come in.
No way.
Yeah, it's an England A game. They're going out to field. So I get there, and then Phil Neal, the manager, says, "Where have you been?" I said, "Sorry, Phil, I had a bit of a nightmare last night." He said, "What happened?" I said, "Well, Phil, you're not going to believe this." I said, "We was in the bar, and Mal was telling ghost stories." I mean, I don't like them. So I got in with keys in. It's my fault. I've kept him up all night. I've slept in the same bed. We've slept in this, that, and the other. And Phil was a bit vexed. He didn't know what to do, how to punish us. So me and Keezy ran on the field and went out and played. Then I got called into the office that night, and we'd all gone back to ECB, and they've had a meeting about it. And I got fined $2,000. But also the lad who was telling the ghost stories got fined $1,000.
No,
He got fined $1,000 for telling a 21-year-old man a story. Yeah.
But you were honest enough to say what happened, and they bought what you said.
It was true.
Wow.
It was true.
Yeah.
But do you know
You're not going to make that up, are you?
But you know when we spoke about being wrong last week, and you're telling somebody something, and they're looking at you, and they say, "No, this is true." But then I thought, if I'm ever late again, I might say I've been abducted by aliens. Because imagine, how can you argue that? They can't argue.
I made one of my coaches late for training once.
Go on.
So I was at Birmingham, one of my first days at Birmingham. It was April Fool's Day. So I was in the morning. Keith Birchin, great lad, used to play for Norwich City, was a coach at Birmingham. He followed Steve Bruce around, and I rung him and I said, "Keith, Sav," I said, "I'm lost. You know, I just moved to the area. I'm lost." So he said, "Where are you?" So I said, "I'm on the M42 near the NEC." I said, I'm parked up near roundabout. Can you come and get me and I'll follow you in?" One of my first days. So he's gone, "Yes, I've stay there." So anyway, I'm now on the way into training.
Yeah.
So I'm on the way in. So he's driven from his house all the way to the M42, which is about 20 miles away. And he's phoning me, I'm on the way. And then he said, I'm there. I said, "I'm here, I can see you. What car are you in?" He said. And I said, "I'm on the other side of the roundabout." So he kept going, true story, kept going round the roundabout. Anyway, I get to training, and like 10 minutes after, and he said, I'm here, keep ringing me. Anyway, I burst out laughing. He said, "Where are you?" So I'm at the training ground. He went mad.
Did he?
He was late for training. Brucey went mad with me. I got the calls, like, it's little things like that tickle you. It's pathetic, but it tickles you.
Jack Longstaff.
Really?
Robbie Savage. How much for the Mini?
Oh, he's selling. Oh, Jack Longstaff.
Is that proper?
Yeah, looks like it.
Okay, let's come up with a price then now. So
What would you value it at?
I paid. It's an 07 plate. It's got lights in the front
That don't work.
won't work. It's been fully serviced. Full service history. It's had a winter service.
Ooh.
Service. It's got new suspension.
Ooh.
Yeah. So it's running like a dream.
Ooh.
It's done 68,000 miles. Yeah. It's done 67 when I bought it. Only 1,000 miles on it.
You changed your tune. It was terrible 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, it's running like a dream. I paid 5,495 for it. Actually, I didn't. I paid 5 because it was 5,495. 5. What would you price it at? It's had new stripes in the middle, so they peeled off.
That's coming off the value then?
So it's got new stickers on, new stripes,
Right.
with a white edging.
Duct tape though, isn't it?
It's a white edging. What price do we say? Honestly,
What would you be
Stop
referring?
burping.
that's sparkling water. What price do we say?
$4,000.
Would you sell it at 4?
Yes.
Okay, Jack
Right.
Longstaff, Robbie Savage, 4K for the Mini. Go for hashtag Fred Savside and you could have a deal. Here's a good one. Stephen Watkins, what is your favourite cheese?
Oh, easy that. Dairy Lee.
Really? Yeah, it's good. I'd go for...
I'd get Dairy Lee in the triangles,
Yep.
not the slices, the triangles spreadable.
What do you have it on? White bread?
No, brown.
Brown
I
bread?
don't eat white bread. Brown bread or toast. Dairy Lee.
With butter or just the Dairy
I
Lee?
need butter. Vomit,
Don't
what
need
do
it,
you
do
think
you?
I am, an animal?
Yeah, exactly.
No, I have butter.
You do? You have butter and Dairy
Yeah,
Lee?
vomit, heck.
Tell you what I love. You know, Roquefort, blue cheese, on one of those, on a cracker with a bit of butter. Oh,
Yeah, but you're from the south. That's what you do in Barnes, isn't it? You and your crackers.
I'd go for the Christmas cheese. Oh, cheese at Christmas.
what do you mean? Cheese you have at Christmas?
Because you choose to have cheese at Christmas, it isn't known as Christmas cheese.
Yeah, but you don't
You should have a cheese.
have a cheese pot at Christmas. So the Christmas cheese. Like the ones with Stilton's nice, and the one where you have it with, is it like not cranberry in the cheese? You have red, like pale cheese with red stuff in it. What is it? What is it? It's cheese. It's not cranberry. You don't have a cranberry and cheese.
Hang on.
You can have cranberry and cheese.
Wensleydale with cranberry in it.
Yeah, you like that? The Christmas
cheese.
Because you have it in Christmas.
Yeah.
It's got Christmas tea. Okay, I like it. Fantastic questions. Thanks so much for that. If you've got any more ideas or suggestions, we may do this kind of show again, so do use the hashtag FredSavSide. If you've missed any of all the shows we've done to date, they're available to download at the 5 Live website and all the usual podcast places. Use the hashtag FredSavSide to get in touch through the week. If you could leave a review on iTunes and give us a rating, that would be great. We'll be back, but for now, from all of us, goodbye.
Flintoff, Savage and the Ping Pong Guy.
Thank you for downloading this Flintoff, Savage and the Ping Pong Guy podcast. Make sure you subscribe to receive the latest episodes automatically to your device every single week. And if you like this, then why not have a look at what else 5 Live has to offer at bbc.co.uk/5live.